chamber and through Microsoft Teams. Before we begin, I will ask Councillor Callum MacLean to lead us in prayer.
Lord our God, we give thanks this afternoon that we can come into your presence again, and all because of the one of whom we remember at this time who gave his life for sinners such as we are, died the accursed death of the cross and rose again, and is now today at your right hand making intercession for sinners such as we are. And we bless you for him. We bless you for the work that he carried out for us, that we come with all our concerns and all our sins and cast them at his feet. And there he is willing to receive such people as we are. For it was through of him that when he dwelt amongst his people, it was recorded of him that others scoffingly said, "This man eats and drinks with sinners." And it is still the same today. We have that hope that he is at your right hand, and we come asking that you be with us while we are met around this meeting today. Bless the chair and bless all those who are concerned. Bless the staff here who do so much work from day to day and from week to week. We bless you for them, and we bless you, Lord, for all the work that Mr. Burr, Chief Executive, has done over these past years, and we give thanks for all that he has done for us. And we ask that you would be with him as he goes on to other pastures new, that you would bless him and be with him and lead him and guide him and use him in whatever sphere he finds himself in. And we ask that for us all and all connected with us. We remember especially today those that are mourning the loss of loved ones. Death seems to be about us so nearly every day. And we ask particularly those that are mourning loved ones. We commit them all to your keeping and your care. And be with us all, lead us and guide us, and help us to deliberate over these matters and keep us, O Lord, from any sense of pride or whatever. Lead us, keep us, and we ask it all for the forgiveness of our sins, for Jesus' sake. Amen.
Thank you very much. So can I remind members to please ensure your microphones are muted on both your Teams device and your mobile device if you're listening to the translation, and if you wish to speak, only unmute your Teams device. The meeting is now being recorded and will be available on the Cornish website following the meeting. Item 30 will be considered in private at the end of the meeting, and I'm ruling item 5, the appendix to item 10, item 11, the appendix to item 14, and item 28 as urgent to allow the matters to be considered prior to the next meeting of the committee. So before I start the meeting proper, I would like to give a tribute to Mr. Malcolm Burr, potentially the most prayed for man in the history of this chamber. So Malcolm will be leaving his position as Chief Executive of Comhairle and Siar on the 2nd of April 2026. Malcolm was appointed to the role of Chief Executive in June 2005, with his 20 years plus in position making him Scotland's longest serving current Chief Executive. Prior to his appointment as Chief Executive, Malcolm served as Principal Solicitor with the Comhairle from 1994 to 1997, when he departed the Western Isles for Orkney Islands Council, where he worked for 8 years as Chief Administrative Officer and subsequently Assistant Chief Executive. Malcolm was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award at the 2025 Scottish Public Service Awards in recognition of his leadership of the Comhairle and work on public service reform. As Chief Executive, Malcolm has played a key role in many successful projects. He was notably instrumental in the success of Our Islands, Our Future campaign, which brought into being the Islands Scotland Act 2018, and more recently has developed the case for a single authority model as part of wider public sector reform, and he has helped guide the Islands Accelerator funding that we see in the report in front of us today. Alongside his role as Chief Executive, Malcolm has served as convener of the Electoral Management Board of Scotland since July 2018, and Malcolm will continue in this role following his departure from full-time employment at the Comhairle. Malcolm's nearly 21 years as Chief Executive have been marked by the delivery of high-quality public services, the completion of major projects, and a strong national leadership and innovation. Comhairle and Siar and Our Islands are better for the work of Malcolm Burr, and he leaves the role with the best wishes of all at the Comhairle. And on a personal note, I'd like to thank Malcolm for his advice, leadership and friendship in my time as a councillor, and especially as leader of Comhairle and Siar. This role is not one that can be carried out without the support of the Chamber and the staff of the Comhairle, but having the guidance and reassurance of Malcolm as Chief Advisor has been immeasurable in terms of how our work is carried out and received locally, regionally and nationally. A distinguished, respected figure who, as Ushtain commented earlier, offers sage advice and the occasional red line through correspondence, and always for the better, has supported councillors here as Chief Executive for over a third of his life, and even longer as a public servant. I speak on behalf of the previous leaders and members of this committee by offering my heartfelt thanks and best wishes to him for the future. You will be greatly missed.
Thank you very much. It's appreciated.
Thank you. Okay, we move on to agenda proper. Item 1 is the minute of the meetings of the 4th of February 2026, the 24th of February 26 at 11:30 and 24th of February 26 at 2 p.m. and they are for approval as to accuracy. Are we happy to approve? Agreed. Thank you very much. Item 2, you're invited to declare an interest in any agenda item at this point. If you become aware of an interest during the meeting, then I would ask that you declare it at the time. Are there any declarations? No. In that case, we'll move on to item 3, and that's the minute of the meeting of Human Resources Subcommittee of the 4th of March 2026, and that's for noting. Agreed. Thank you. Item 4 is the minute of the meeting of the Local Government Employee Joint Consultative Committee of the 5th of March 2026, and again, that's for noting. Agreed. Thank you. Item 5 is the minute of the meeting of Comhairle and Gaelic on the 23rd of March 2026, and that is for noting. Agreed. Thank you. As the Chief Officer for Health and Social Care has another meeting to attend, we will now take item 16 on the agenda if the committee are content with that. So I'll ask, I can see Emma's on that, yes. So this report seeks approval for the setting of charges for community care services delegated to the Integration Joint Board for the financial year 2026-27. The Comhairle continues to follow costly guidance on charges. The charges relating to residential services set out in the report are the maximum charge for each service and do not translate into the amount that all individuals will pay towards their care. So Emma McSween will speak to the report and answer members' questions. Emma.
Thank you, Leader. You've caught me off guard there a wee bit. Ray Miller was going to take the fees
sorry,
and
Emma,
charges.
I think we're going to have to restart. We can't hear you.
All right, okay.
Okay, Emma, can we test see if we can hear you now? Say something.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah, we've got you
Yes.
now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leader. I'm happy to take that report as well. It was for the business plan. I thought it was going to be called in earlier, but in terms of fees and charges, your summary covers exactly where we are, and it's the same methodology we've been using for the last couple of financial years. Happy to take any questions on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, are there any questions? Councillor Hussain?
I think obviously I was looking at the fees and think it's not much just a question, but also a comment about how high the fees are compared to other local authorities. And I know it's we increase them every year by 5%. I think, I don't know, I think last time the budget discussion was that the IGB will come back with some figures, and I'm not sure if I missed anything, or this is the first time that the figures have been put in front of us. So I would say probably myself that I feel very uncomfortable in this high fees to be charged for, especially the residential care. And I think maybe some more discussion need to be had by members and to look at the merit of how do we charge. You know, we can't keep increasing 5% every year. I think we're one of the highest fees local authorities. So compared to when you look at, I just had a glance at quick look at other local authorities, and some of them are, £600-700 cheaper than us. So just to see how do we reach these figures and what can we do. I don't know what other members think. So
Thank you, Councillor Racine. I think, as referenced at the start, we're following COSLA guidance on the charges, and it's a decision that we went through previously in terms of setting up, looking to full cost recovery, and obviously increases annually of 5%. That's what's recommended. So I'll bring Ms McSween back in to respond.
Thank you. And just for assurance, we did bring back at the time the benchmarking information, Councillor Racine. And although we might be slightly higher than some authorities for the base, the routine permanent resident rate, we were significantly less for the respite rate compared to others who were charging £500-600 for the week. We've kept that to a minimum to support carers and their families in terms of accessing respite. We have to remember that as we're following COSLA guidance, we are charging what we're entitled to charge. And the other thing is, due to the 3 million IGB deficit, there needs to be mindful, in terms of how we recoup income to offset that as well. And we're not breaching any guidance by setting these fees as they are.
no, I'm not suggesting we're breaching any guidance. I think obviously the guidance highlight the need for local areas to involve people affected in the discussion and things. And have we, is there an impact assessment that shows every time we increase these fees, how many other families we're going to take into, obviously there are families that will end up having to sell all their what do you call it, their assets to pay for their loved ones to be in, and every time we increase, we're taking a wider group of families into that. Have we done any impact assessment to see, is there any other way of doing it? I know we're working within the guidelines of COSLA, but is there the, so I'm just putting it there for discussion to see what other members think. So it's just that for me, it's too high of a price that we keep increasing automatically every year.
Okay, I'll bring Ms McSween in.
Thank you. It's just to remind members as well that the affordability, it's the ability to pay. There's a financial assessment done, and that depends on people's own circumstances, their revenue and their capital. So it's just the residents and their financial position we assess, not the families. And for example, if you're alluding to families having to give up a home, if there's somebody living in that home that's a dependent for the person in care, there are specific circumstances where that's disregarded. So it's not that people are being made homeless because somebody's in care and they need to pay the fees associated with that. So I feel that, we went through this previously in great detail if you want to do that again, but it is a matter for the council, and we have factored in the income based on these recommendations into the budget setting process for the IGB. But it is the council that agrees the fees and charges, not the IGB, but it's the IGB's budget. And we have managed to close the gap. We were over 4 million last year and it's 3 million this year. And we factored in income generation into these figures.
Councillor Racine, do you want to come back
That's
in?
fine. That's fine. Thank
you. Okay. Councillor MacLeod.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's along the same lines as Councillor Racine. I find these charges kind of incredible. I did a quick scan myself, and the average across Scotland for council care homes, not private, was £1,539, and yet we're going to be £600 above that. That's a significant amount of money. And I mean, I've dug in with this before, Emma, and asked for figures, but I got big chunky figures of where the costs are. Second question to that is, so if I'm able to pay my own care, I'm going to be paying £2,108 a week. But if not, the council pay that bill, I believe. Do the council pay the same amount per person as well?
Just for clarity, it's the council care homes we're talking about here. So if the income isn't coming in from the individual, we don't pay ourselves. That's just less income that comes in if somebody has no contributions from a revenue or a capital perspective. But usually with state pension benefits and things, most people make some form of contribution, but they're not full payers. We have very few full payers across the estate. And again, it's not, they don't pay the full rate, they're financially assessed against that, and there's a tariff system that's in place.
Yeah, so the point I was getting to is then the people who are actually paying the full rate who can afford to pay that and have money and assets are subsidising the other people that are in there.
That's how social care charging works across the country.
It doesn't seem very fair, but that's where we're at. But you know, I think we do need to go deeper into this and look at the actual running costs, because if it costs 2,108 per person to run these care homes, I think we really need to look at these running costs.
We have, Leader, for your assurance, and councillors, we have looked at the running costs, and we're running a series of homes across the islands of varying sizes and degrees, but the expectations for the regulator in terms of staffing and management support are no less. And that's the reality of running care homes and being able to provide the level of care that people need on local authority terms and conditions.
Yeah, I fully understand our staffing terms and conditions are better than probably a private care home, but are they that much better? We're nearly 25% dearer.
It's not just the terms and conditions, but yes, they are generally different to a range of providers, but it's also the scale of the care homes.
I just think it's worth a deeper dive.
Leader, I'm happy to provide more information, but just for your assurance, the figures that have brought these charges in front of you today are the ones that are based on the reality of running the services. And when we did reset on full cost recovery, there was detail given to members about that, exactly what was included and wasn't.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but there were big chunky figures of admin, etc. There wasn't a breakdown of where the costs actually were.
Just to come in once more, sorry, I can't see the full chamber, Leader, but in terms of the cost of running care homes, there's disproportionate costs for a small bedded care home compared to the efficiencies you can have for bigger care homes.
So I take it all residents, regardless of the size of care home, pay the same amount.
Yeah, we average it out. Yeah.
So again, some are paying more for less, if you like.
I would be very surprised if, as members, you'd be wanting us to have differential rates for differential care homes.
Councillor McLeod. So
Shall
what I
leave
was
it
going to
there.
sorry, I was going to suggest, Councillor McLeod, we can possibly refer this to the Social Work and Social Care Committee for further discussion, if the committee are content with that. Emma, would it be possible to take something for discussion? Yeah.
We can do that, but they won't be in a position to make a decision. It'll have to come back to P&R, and that will mean that we'll be delaying it till June. So financial assessments won't be put in place, and that has been a real issue in the past, that people don't know what they're going to get charged. So just to be aware of that risk.
Yeah, I was proposing that we agree with the recommendations today and then take a further paper to.
Sorry, Leader.
Yeah. Any other, Councillor Finnegan?
Yeah, it was just to give a bit of a background on what Emma's saying. That's the case. You know, it's like any business model. I mean, it's not business, but it is like any business model. The size of the property. You know, the smaller the property, the more expensive it is to actually run it. So what you're finding across the country, because I've been looking at this, is that a lot of the small care homes are being closed, especially in the private sector, and they're moving to bigger care homes because the cost effective are much cheaper to run per resident. And so you're finding that's one of the problems. You're finding that local care has been taken away from local areas, are being centralised into like regional centres. It's becoming more and more of an issue now, and that's one of the issues that we have on the islands. We've got a lot of small care homes, and the costs are proportionally higher than they would be for, say, somewhere much bigger. Well, that's what we have to look at, don't we? But that's basically where we're at the moment, and that's the main reason, more so than actually, you know, the cost per resident. It's actually the actual cost of running each of these smaller care homes all the time. Those costs are proportionally higher per care home because they're much smaller. They're smaller units.
Sorry, Mustafa. Sorry, through the chair, please, if you wanted to come in.
It was just really just an explanation, just saying what Emma's saying. That's primarily the reasons, and that's maybe something going forward you have to look at in terms of. I mean, we tried it. We've done it with Comhairle. It maybe has to be more. That has to be looked at further in terms of rolling that out in other places as well.
Thank you.
Centralising, more central but again, it takes then away from local care, which is another issue again. You know, it's a very awkward, very difficult situation.
I think there are national guidelines that we could possibly look to dig into further in a different forum. I think at the moment we have this in front of us for a decision, but the national system is something that we're clearly not content with. So something we can discuss further. Councillor McCormick.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not a member of your committee. I think Clement Attlee will be turning in his grave right now. I don't think this was his idea at all when he introduced a welfare state to the United Kingdom. It's now the responsibility of the Scottish government, and they've talked a long time about how they were going to have a new social care system in Scotland, and we don't have it. And until such time as the national body funds significant elements of this, we're going to have these huge costs for individuals. The first ever member of the public who came to speak to me when I was elected a councillor, I'm not going to say when, was a young woman in tears who came to tell me that she had nowhere for her dad to stay in her own home because her family was such that there was no room left, so he had to go into care. And he had to sell, he was told he had to sell his home, and he was broken down and in tears. Could I do anything about it? And in fact, of course, I learned very quickly I couldn't do anything about it. And there have been so many stories like that across Scotland, possibly across England too. I don't know the detail there. And it's not good enough. I mean, what on earth is the point of spending your whole life building a home for your family only to find that it's sold to pay for 3 years of your care? Because that's about as much as it will cover. It's a national issue that we have to address. We can do a bit of, maybe a bit of tinkering locally, I don't know. And I'm not at all suggesting that the fees that have been suggested here are not what should be suggested here, but they're excessive, and I don't think it's right. And at the back of my mind, of course, I'm thinking that we've just, a home has just been closed. It was a private home, right enough, but it places more stress on what we must provide going forward. So I think there is certainly a case for further discussion in another forum as to how exactly we can take this matter forward and where we should address our concerns. But really, the national government should come up with their national scheme that they keep talking about, and that should be supporting people. Yep.
Thank you very much. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Leader. I'm not a member of your committee either, but we've just mentioned that this should come back to the Health and Social Care Committee. I mean, from a governance point of view, I'm on that committee. We've only met twice in this term. Now, you know, if we're meeting more regularly, we could be discussing more issues like this, especially issues related to IJB as well. And I think there's something lacking there. There's a disjoint between that committee and the IJB, I feel. I appreciate the role of the IJB and the IJB meetings, but I know that the Health and Social Care Committee isn't a mini IJB meeting. It should be its own separate meeting to inform council around on the IJB. So I just feel it's a disjoint, and I'm concerned how few times we are meeting.
Thank you. I'll bring the Chief Executive in on that one.
Yes, thank you, Chair, on that point. I mean, I think that is definitely one for the review of the scheme of administration, which will take place in the next year before the local government election. As Councillor Morrison has said, the Health and Social Care Board is not a mini IJB because the services are delegated by law to the IJB, and therefore the IJB holds the operational responsibility for the policies and delivery of these services. Now, it's fair to say we all have our views about the model that the 2014 Act just put in place. The purpose of the Health and Social Care Board was to guide our response as a Comhairle to what was then going through a national care service. That ran into the sand, and there's no sign of that being revived. So I think the structure would merit a look. It is a confused situation, but that is because of the legislative framework. The employees are ours, the buildings are ours, the budgets to a certain extent are ours to allocate. But everything in terms of legal responsibility for the operation of the service lies with the IJB. So it's not an ideal situation, but certainly I agree that the operation of the board should be reviewed.
Okay, Councillor McLean.
Yeah, thanks. I agree with all the sentiments already here expressed, but I agree with Councillor McCormack. Successive governments in Westminster have never ever dealt with this. And Scotland has had a government for 18 years and it hasn't. And if I'm not mistaken, this is devolved. So really at the end of the day, so therefore the government, it's a governmental problem. It's not a local issue at all. We have to adhere to certain figures. The problem, as I see it is, and I think Mr. Hutchin has mentioned that, is the discrepancy between the council-run care home and the individual one. And that is Emma has alluded to the reason why. But if it boils down to the nitty-gritty, who then gets into Bethesda care home or into Leverborough, and who gets into the council-run one? If you're fortunate, and to me, I don't think there's any dividing line as to how people get into which one. You'll get into Bethesda, where your figures are a lot lower than they are in the council-run one. How it comes, I've asked how it happens, and I think it's an ad hoc basis. So really, a person who gets into Bethesda, and I'm not saying that anybody wants to get into a care home by any means, but we're all heading that way. Some of us sooner than others, I'm afraid to say, but that's the fact of the matter. But the fact of the matter is here we've got two different levels of charging. And you've got, if you go into the council one, you're over £2,000. If you're into Bethesda, you're 1,391. And the question we have to address, Emma, and we're probably better, as the leader says, is to do this at the Health and Social Care Committee, is that you have reasons for that, but that's really what we're looking at today. I'm sure that's, if there are any of us, that's what comes out from here. Why is there such a differential between the two? And I know she's got her hand up to tell me in 2 words what it is, so I'll leave it now to Emma. But the whole matter is that the decision is here at council. It then goes on to the IJB, which has not got any decision-making power at all on it. So the decision is made by you councillors here today. I'm not on the committee, by the way. I should have said that first of all.
I'm kind of just assuming most people who speak aren't on my committee. It happens every time. You are, yes, thanks. Emma, 2 words suggested by Councillor McLean, but
sorry, slightly more than that. Thank you, Leader. It's just on how placements are allocated. 1, it's based on assessment. 2, as all our care services operate at maximum capacity, it's on availability at the time. And then it's also on preference. And we have placed some people in their second preference for a care home, but when places become available, we can move people to their desired choice. So that's the sequence of how people are allocated their care service. Leader, if it would be helpful, I'm happy to take suggestions for discussion for the next Social Work, Social Care Board, mopping up issues that members wish to raise. Yeah. And if they want to contact me direct, I'll facilitate the next Social Work, Social Care Board in collaboration with the Chair, and we'll talk through these issues.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, officer. Members, if you want to get in touch with Emma, then we can help to form the agenda for that meeting. So thank you very much. There are recommendations for approval at paragraph 3.1 of this report. Do we agree? Reluctantly, thank you. Okay, we move on to item 6 on the agenda. Well, I asked you to agree the recommendations, Councillor Racine. Put your light on, please. Do we agree the recommendations was the question to the chamber?
No. So we
Do you
need
have an
to,
amendment?
if that's an
And
amendment.
also you're not a member of the committee, apologies.
I am a member of the committee.
Is he?
No, I'm not, sorry. Sorry, I'm just.
We can arrange a transfer if you like.
You put an amendment.
No. So there will be. Yeah. Yeah, there is an opportunity for you to bring an amendment to council if you require, Councillor Racine. Emma, were you wanting to come in?
Apologies, Leader. I've got to jump to that other call with the Minister, but the business plan was also going to be an item I was going to speak to. So in my absence, if there's any questions that come up, I'll follow up afterwards. Apologies for this. It's just a clash of commitments.
No problem. We'll take a note of any questions that come forward. And
thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So insofar as members of this committee's interests are concerned, are we content to approve the recommendations? Is that yes? Yep. Okay, thank you. So item 6, this report seeks approval of the Cornwall Service Business Plans and Operational Risk Registers for 26-27. Appendix 1 provides the organisational structure with interplan for March 2026, and the draft SBPs and the operational risk registers follow this structure. To support consistent performance reporting, services will use the generic performance report template at Appendix 2 when presenting their annual reports. And I will bring Fiona Napin to speak to the report, and she will answer questions along with chief officers if members ask questions. So, Fiona.
Thank you, Chair. So these are the service business plans and operational risk registers for 2026. They form part of the Corless 5-year planning framework and are aligned to the corporate strategy 24-27, which was reviewed and approved in December 23. For 26-27, each service business plan includes a one-page summary and updated KPIs aligned to the Drive and Performance Transformation Project. These KPIs focus on financial efficiency, operational effectiveness, and customer service, and will support improved annual performance reporting in line with the new Accounts Commission Direction 2024. The first performance reports under this format will be presented in November 26 for the 25-26 performance year. And each service business plan is accompanied by an operational risk register, which ensures that the risks to achieving strategic outcomes are clearly identified and managed, and the plans will continue to be monitored and updated in Interplan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Members, do you have any questions on this report? Oh, I don't see any. Sorry, my laptop's thing up. Okay, so do members agree to the recommendations at paragraph 3.1 of the report? Agreed, thank you. And thank you, Fiona. I believe that's your last presentation to this committee in your current role, so wish you all the best in your new role. Item 7, this report is for noting and provides an update on the status of the business continuity plans across the Cornwall. A business continuity plan folder is available on SharePoint where members can view the most recent documents, and Rebecca MacLeod will answer members' questions on this report. Are there any questions on this report? No. In that case, do members agree to note the report? Thank you very much. Thank you, Rebecca. Item 8. This report is for noting and provides an update on the delivery of the strategic outcomes for the Cornwall. Sorry, the Cornwall is delivering strategic outcomes both directly and jointly through the establishment of the Eilean Strategic Partnership. And Mr. Burr will speak to the report and answer members' questions. Mr. Burr.
Thank you, Chair. This report, although it's for noting, does contain some important information. Just by way of background, we have the corporate strategy approved in 2023 for 2024 to 2027. That'll take you just over the current term of the Corla, because of course it's for the newly elected Corla in May 2027 to set its own corporate strategy. In addition, or rather complementary to the corporate strategy, In last year, April 2025, almost a year ago, we approved priority advancement of 6 strategic areas. These are listed at 2.2 and turn to them in a moment. So that picks, those are all corporate strategy outcomes anyway, but we wanted to give an enhanced approach to them. 2 of them are delivered directly through my own office, and I'll speak to those in a moment. That's the Eilean Strategic Partnership and Public Service Reform. And if you haven't got enough to read with all of this, there's the Corporate Strategy Annual Report for 2025, which was approved at last November. So there'll be another one along on that towards the end of the term at the end of 2026. So turning to the report itself, most of the updates are in the appendix, other than my own 2, which are in the body of the report. First of these at paragraph 5, under the broad heading Islands Councils Co-working. That took the form of the Eilean Strategic Partnership, about which you've heard much, formed by ourselves with Orkney and Shetland, held a number of productive meetings with government last year, and that culminated in the announcement of the Islands Accelerator model. We weren't just talking to government about infrastructure funding. I hasten to add there was also a discussion on community benefit from renewable energy developments. That was slightly superseded by Scottish Government's own consultation, out of which will come guidelines. But of course, the prime mover on community benefit for energy developments is UK Government, and it's to be hoped that both governments will work together on clarifying and indeed codifying expectations on community benefits, rather than just leaving that to local authority commitment and wisdom. Our achievements in securing community benefit, even without a statutory framework, though, are well known and are a model for similar benefit schemes elsewhere, and not just in the Highlands and Islands. So you should be very pleased with what we've developed and achieved over the years, and that has been without much external assistance. Getting back to the model, there's a report later on the agenda about the Islands Accelerator model and about some initial expenditure from it, but I'll say it again just for the record, it is a multi-year programme of revenue support which will enable the corporate to engage in supported borrowing, to access other funding, to deliver key infrastructure improvements which we are not otherwise able to fund through the capital programme. Now, those of you who were present at Transportation and Infrastructure Committee this morning were lamenting the lack of capital funding, particularly for roads. That is a fact. So we have sought other means, and not just the one-offs like Pride in Place, like Community Renewal Partnership, or Levelling Up as it was known. Not just these one-offs, beneficial though they are. We need to get a multi-year programme because it's not coming through capital. This is it. And we should, it really places the Comhairle in a much better position than many to at least address the infrastructure developments which we need. So I'll leave that one. Public service reform, I've set out the whole story there. A lot going on in February and March. Clearly that is not going to be concluded this side of the Scottish Parliament election. Our proposal received very positive feedback. Scottish Government is keen that we work with NHS to see whether we can produce a hybrid model. It is fair to say, though, the Comhairle's single authority model is much wider than the model which NHS envisages, because that is limited to a single model of health and social care. And while there are merits in that, it's not something certainly I would be prepared to recommend to you without the wider benefits of our own model: democratic engagement, public accountability, and linked policy outcomes. I think without that, you're just dealing with a narrow service area, and the benefits might be there, but equally important are these other things that we've sought for some time. But it may seem painfully slow, and indeed it is, but it has moved on more in the last year than in recent years. So we will continue that work with the newly elected Scottish Government. It is a public service reform, is a commitment of all the political parties. I venture to suggest the next term of the Scottish Parliament that will be the dominant theme, because we all know the structural financial issues facing Scotland are such that it has to be, quite apart from it being a good thing. I'll move on to the other aspects of the report, although colleagues will speak to these in greater detail. Western Isles Renewable Energy Dividend, lead officers there, Anne Murray and John Cunningham. You can see their update there. I think that's been covered, I dare say, through other committees recently. Housing opportunities and innovation, again, real progress there. I mean, we use everything we have to great advantage, and we have evidence that to those who have, sometimes more is given, and we have used these very, very well. And accordingly, extra pots of funding have come along. Gaelic, there's an update there from both Colin George Morrison and myself. That's at a critical point at the moment with areas of linguistic significance. Our policy position is well known and well understood. And I think it's set out there. Family-friendly support, I'll leave to colleagues in education and children's services, but work underway there. Connectivity enhancement, again, Callum Mackenzie is the expert, but there was a report to Transportation Committee at the last series, which set out quite a lot of detail. Finally, climate resilient infrastructure. We spoke about that a little this morning. I'm not a skeptic myself, perhaps to the same extent as was voiced earlier today, but I don't think we should. Our policies need to be built on preparation for what's reasonably anticipated, but also in supporting the structures we have and not changing these on the basis of trends in this area. But we do have to look for future planning on where these trends are coming through. So I'll leave it there. Chair. Happy to take questions, and I know colleagues will be too.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions on this report from members? No.
Chair, if there are no questions, I would suggest that the next report be perhaps in 6 months' time before the to the September-October series, and then that gives the policy position 6 months before your term as councillors comes to an end.
Yep. Sense. Councillor McLean?
Yeah, just a question to Mr. Burr, I noticed in that report at 5.1, just had to use the acronyms that are down there, is ISP. I see it's Comhairle, Orkney and Shetland are working together. And then I moved to the other acronym, PSR, Public Sector, I take it that's reform. It's the Comhairle and Argyll and Bute. I'm a wee bit confused as to why the three island authorities in one and then together in the other one. Have you fallen out with Argyll and the other two, and then just gone to Argyll and Bute in the second one?
No, we haven't, Chair. Happy to explain that. Orkney Islands Council is very interested in exactly the same model as we are. They're just at a different stage. They're not at the stage of submitting detailed models. They're still at the preparatory stage, so that's the only reason they're not mentioned. Shetland Islands Council, I think, is very interested in the concept, but I don't think I'd be betraying any confidences in saying Shetland has a reserve fund of £500 million, and as a council, and I don't think it would be minded to make that resource available to other sectors of the Scottish public sector, particularly NHS at this time. So that is the reason Shetland has always been a supportive observer of the process, but I think they are in the happy position of managing that huge reserve fund as a local authority, and good luck to them with that. But Orkney and ourselves are in the same policy position, just not at the same stage. So it's Argyll and ourselves who are at the races at the moment as regards implementation.
Just to comment again to what he had said to Cells, I know he's not classifying himself, Mr. Burr, as a skeptic. He's not joining the club, but he's a pragmatist. So he's not going head forward. We'll miss that as well. I hope that his predecessor, the next successor will be of the same, that he's a pragmatist, and the pragmatism means that you don't go headlong into the idiotic stuff that is attached to climate change. But anyway.
Thank you, Councillor. And Mr. Joyce has joined us online for the meeting today, so I'm sure he's taking notes of all the commentary. Okay, if there are no further questions, do members agree to note the report? Thumbs up from Mr. Joyce, thank you. Okay, item 9 on the agenda. This report provides a progress update for the Performance Transformation Project. The report details progress with the business case, which continues to set out the framework of the project and work undertaken by the project team. The action plan progress updates is appended to the report, and Norma Skinner will speak to the report and answer members' questions. Norma.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this is just a progress update. As was said, at paragraph 7, we've got progress to date where there's a new business plan format, as Ms. Nape mentioned earlier, and also a new performance reporting template. On the efficiency side of the project, the pilot area is near completion, and as it's saying there's 14 paper forms. We're hoping to condense into 6 new smart forms, and hopefully that will reduce the workload on employees and create an efficiency in terms of hours undertaken for tasks. There's also a new sickness absence form which has been rolled out onto a smart form. At paragraph 8, we're detailing the next phase. We're being considered for efficiency areas, and that's HR, finance and waste services and corporate services. Obviously, before these forms are rolled out, in terms of working with to ensure good customer service, IIAs will be undertaken. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Members, do we have any questions? No. In that case, do members agree to note? Yeah, to note the report. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Item 10, this report is also for noting and provides a progress update on the digital transformation project, and Mr. Tim Langley will speak to the report, and Cal Mackenzie is available to answer any of the members' questions. Mr. Langley.
Thank you, Leader. This is a follow-up report from the one that submitted to committee in November, in which we referred to the forthcoming data maturity assessment. That's the caller-wide questionnaire that went out and closed in early December. So this is a report giving the summary of the outcomes of that survey, which are set out in the report. I won't go through them all in detail, but essentially the result was quite encouraging in that the caller is on a par with the other public bodies who are in the same cohort as we are on the data maturity programme. And actually, we seem to be slightly further ahead in terms of data maturity than the public sector as a whole. So that's reassuring, but there are a couple of points arising from the results, a couple of areas where the results weren't quite as encouraging, and those are set out in the report. Essentially, the tools and analysis sections of the survey. So these are the sections where we're talking about the resources available for collecting and processing data, and how that data is analysed. So we're now focusing on those sections to see whether we can improve the way that data is held across the council as a whole and used by services. I think that there's a tendency at the moment for data to be held in silos, segregated areas of the council, which could be of use to other areas. So One of the things we're looking at resulting from the survey is to try and see how we can make that data more accessible and where appropriate to the public as well. One of the recurring themes that we've had from following up on the results with service areas are things such as officer time that's spent in answering freedom of information requests, and all of that would suggest that if information could be held in a more accessible format, it would free up a lot of officer time. So we're following up those with services, and I'll submit a further report in due course.
Very good, thank you. Members, do you have any questions on this report? Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Chair. I'm still not a member of your committee. Just on the freedom of information requests, Mr. Langley, do we know what proportion of them are coming from journalists? I mean, is it lazy journalism that people are just sending requests in rather than getting the work for themselves?
I can't give you the precise proportions, but certainly it's a significant proportion. I can look at the figures and come back to you with an indication, but certainly there are some of those. Yes.
Okay. That'd be an interesting figure to see. Yeah. Okay. If there are no further questions, do members agree to note the report? Agreed. Thank you. Item 11. This report seeks approval for the utilisation of external rental space for the first year of a funded project which will be delivered by the Accredited Training and Skills Team to deliver a 2-year whole family support project based in Stornoway with the intention of extending delivery across the Western Isles subject to successful outcomes. A condition of the funding requires secure, suitable premises to be available for an April 2026 project launch, and £15,000 is provided for this. It's proposed that a commercial property at 16 South Beach Street, advertised locally for £1,075 per month, be leased for a period of 12 months. And Delina Smith will speak to the report and answer members' questions. Delina.
Thank you, Chair.
If I haven't covered everything you were going to say.
You did, actually. Thank you. Yeah, the team have successfully secured additional funding to support the whole family support system. We did a review of the accommodation in the town hall to support this delivery, and due to the growth of all our programmes, we couldn't timetable especially the precise support that's needed for those with multiple barriers. So we're looking to extend the accommodation and extend the support, especially for project work and specialist support for those who have maybe not been in school since COVID, the over 50s, drug and alcohol, and the specialist areas. So, you know, we're asking today for approval to rent the external premises for a year. And once tech services have completed the accommodation review for the whole COAL, if there is suitable council premises, we will come back in. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from members on this? Not. Sorry, Councillor McLean.
Are we allowed to know where 16 South Beach Street is? Is it? I'm not.
It's situated perfectly by being right beside the town hall, so there's the continuation of the service. So it's where the Lewis Revival have been recently.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do members agree recommendations for approval at paragraph 3.1? Agreed. Thank you very much. Next item is also report for noting and provides details of the Corlear's forecast revenue outturn for 25-26. A summary of the financial performance to the end of December 25 is attached at Appendix 1 to the report, which shows a projected net overspend of £680,000. All departments are currently projected to be within carry forward tolerances at the end of the year, and an exception report on budgetary performance is included at Appendix 3 to the report. Sandy Gomez will answer members' questions. Sandy.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, as you stated, there's overall an overspend of around £680,000, but after accounting for about 1.7 million in relation to health and social care, which will be covered by IJB reserves, that leaves us with a surplus as at the end of December of around £1 million. A lot of this is in relation to a high-level review of utility costs, which generated about 600,000 of savings, and also some additional income in relation to our investments. We're still forecasting, or we're still receiving some high interest rates due to the sustained level of the base rate, which has generated additional income for us. Happy to take any questions on the report.
Okay, Thank you very much. That's some good work on the utility bills section there. Members, any questions? If not, do we give recommendations for approval of paragraph 3.1? Read, or agree to note, sorry. Thank you. Item 13. This report is also for noting and provides a summary report of the Treasury Management activity to 31st December 25. The Treasury Management Strategy for 25-26, which was approved by the Cory on the 5th of February 2025, included the recommended prudential indicator estimates for the year. These indicators have been updated to reflect the changes to date and are detailed at paragraph 10 of the report. I have Catherine Smith. No, I have Sandy Gomez to speak to the report. Sandy.
Thanks, Chair. Not too much more to add. As I just alluded to in the previous report, it just details the level of investments as at the end of December 2025. So at that date, we had around just under £48 million, which, as I said, is generating a decent rate of return. The details of the interest rates are shown at 9.5, which shows that we're getting an average rate of just over 4%, which has generated some significant savings for us for going forward. So happy to take any questions on it.
Members, any questions on this report? Not. Do members agree to note the report? Agreed. Thank you. Item 14. This report provides an update on the progress of the 23 to 28 capital programme as at 31st December 25. Projects totalling £28.2 million were carried forward from the 2018 to 23 capital programme, and the delivery of these projects is ongoing. At the end of quarter 3, £9.3 million of expenditure had been incurred in 25-26, and the full breakdown is detailed in Appendix 1. Again, there are recommendations for approval at paragraph 3.1, and Sandy Gomez is available to answer any questions members have. So do members have any questions on this report? If not, do we agree the recommendations for approval at paragraph 3.1? Agreed. Thank you. Item 15, this report recommends that a number of irrecoverable debts totalling £102,026.11 in respect of council tax, non-domestic rates, sundry debts and housing benefit overpayments be written off. Again, there are recommendations for approval of paragraph 3.1 of the report, and if members have any questions, Sandy is available to answer them. If not, I don't see any lights or hands. Do members agree to approve? Okay, thank you very much. Item 16 was taken earlier in the agenda, so we move on to item 17. And this report details an updated medium-term financial plan for 2026-27 and 2030-31, which has been developed using the budget for 26-27 as the baseline for future projections for the 5-year period up to 2030-31. The plan highlights indicative gaps in the available budget over the years and includes a range of scenarios based on differing planning assumptions using information currently available relating to public sector pay policies, inflation and CPI measures, as well as making assumptions on differing levels of funding which may be available to the Coria over the duration of this period. And again, the recommendations for approval are paragraph 3.1 of the report, and Sandy is available to answer any questions members have. Do members have any questions on this report? Councillor Crichton.
Thank you, Chairman. I used the term shoehorn earlier in the Transportation Committee. I'm going to use it again for this item regarding the Crown State funding, and I discussed it with you earlier about the ward element of the funding. Has that fund started? Because I got an email suggesting that it had opened last week and opened till the end of May. I just wonder if we need some kind of
comments, yeah,
publicity around that to go out to communities.
I come to Mr. Gomez. Sandy?
Is this in relation to the arts and culture? So the ward fund.
The ward fund.
Yes, the ward fund it should be open to applications shortly, if not already. I confirmed with.
I didn't know that today, but I think we need some publicity around it.
Yeah, we can arrange that.
Yeah, don't have any colleagues online.
Highlight it to the communities, the wards.
Anne Murray, are you online? Are you able to help us with where we are with this? I don't know if Anne.
Hello there. Hi. Yes, this sits with the community CLD team, so they'll need to advise on whether that round is open or not. They don't sit within my service.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. And I think it is, but yeah, it'll be good to get some clarification on that, get that information shared. Yeah, we'll get that shared with members. So we'll get that shared with members and the community. We'll get that information shared
Yes, but I think it needs
yeah.
like a press release to go out too.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Thank you.
Okay, that was very well shoehorned in. Thank you. So there are recommendations for approval at paragraph 3.1. Agreed. Thank you very much. Item 18. This report presents the updated capital strategy for 2023 to 28 and gives a high-level overview of how capital expenditure, capital financing and treasury management activity contribute to the provision of services, along with an overview of how associated risk is managed and implications for future financial sustainability. This brings together the various strands of the capital investment process, such as the treasury management and asset management strategies. The appendix to the report sets out the Comhairle strategy for 2023 to 28 within the context of the 2023-28 capital programme, which will be updated annually. There are recommendations for approval at paragraph 3.1, and again, Sandy is available to answer members' questions if they have any. Members, any questions on this report? No, if not, do we agree the approval of recommendations at paragraph 3.1? Agreed. Thank you. Item 19. This report proposes the borrowing and investment strategies and the estimated prudential indicators for 2026-27. There have been no changes to the Treasury policy statement, which was agreed by the Comhairle on 8th of March 2012, and none are proposed. The Comhairle will be asked to approve a revised Treasury management strategy should the assumptions on which this report is based change significantly. Such circumstances would include, for example, a large or unexpected change in interest rates in the Comhairle's capital programme or in the level of its investment balances. And again, there are recommendations for approval at paragraph 3.1 of the report, and Sandy can answer members' questions if there are any. Members, do we have any questions? No, in that case, do we agree with the recommendations of paragraph 3.1 to approve? Agreed, thank you. Item 20. And this report is for noting and provides an update on progress on the Barron Battersea Community Campus project. Again, there are recommendations of paragraph 3.1, and Mr. Bird and Dan McPhail will speak to the report and answer members' questions. Firstly, yourself, Mr. Bird.
Thank you very much, Chair. I won't, given so many members were also present at Education and Children's Services Committee yesterday, I will be brief, but the key points to note are the positive aspects of the letter we received in February, that the project will be capital funded by Scottish Government, subject to budgetary and business case approval, and it's that latter on which we sought some clarification at a meeting which took place on 17th of March. You can see we are very, very keen to make sure that progress continues very actively on this, and that nothing is allowed to drift. So the key paragraph there are 2.4 and 2.5. There's reference there to the outline business case which we submitted in November 2022 with a lot of detailed work and detailed follow-up. So we want to use that work positively with this business case. But the key matter is that we secured agreement to the engagement of what's known as the Tier 1 contractor and design team, not only to move the design forward, but also to ensure that we have the right information for the business case on contractor involvement, delivery strategy, logistics, cost, programme parameters. And of course, these are informed by market conditions, which are, let's say, variable at the moment, as we noted earlier, and the risk appetite for contractors equally variable and will not have reduced, or not have increased rather. The risk appetite will not have increased on account of recent events. Everyone is aware of that, but we are the ones who have to deliver a project in the middle of all this. So it was agreed that we could go ahead on that basis. 2.6 is also important, but not yet. Scottish Government has not yet named its senior responsible officer, but we have a very senior acting senior responsible officer at the moment, and our links there are strong and are being used to full advantage. In due time, we will need to appoint an accountable officer or officers. I would venture to say, certainly, I would intend that those be the chief executives of the Comhairle and possibly also of NHS, and also one project director. There can only be one project director. So we're discussing that with Scottish Government and NHS Western Isles at the moment very harmoniously, and I think given the next series of meetings is not until June, you might need to look at a brief special meeting, Chair, to appoint these officers so that progress can continue to be made. But it's all, when you look at where we were last year, it's a radically different position. We're working very purposefully with government and NHS, and as you can see, we're moving forward. Lots of big issues coming, though, of course, on cost and on contractor risk appetite. So it's never over till it's over, but it's certainly moved forward significantly since since about November last year. Thank you, Chair. Happy to, Mr. McPhail and I will be happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. McPhail, is there anything you'd like to add at this stage?
Not at this stage. I think Mr. Bosch covered it all.
Okay, thank you. Members, are there any questions on this report? If not, then the recommendations of paragraph 3.1. Agreed. Thank you. Item 21, this report is for noting and provides an update on the progress of the UK Government Community Regeneration Partnership funding and the associated projects. Funding conditions require revenue funds £250,000 to be committed during the current fiscal year, with capital expenditure £20 million due to be committed by March 2027. With projects at varying stages of development, there is a significant amount of work to be done during this period, and project leads and officers have now established the governance and administration and are working with partners to support project progression and identify areas of dependencies. Strong early progress across the revenue projects has been established, with grant offer letters issued and capacity support appointed where required. Milestones for capital projects remain tight, and project leads will continue to work with partners to support deliverability. Just before I bring Charlene in, I should also mention a declaration of interest from myself in respect to this item. I don't consider it an interest that needs to be declared in terms of the code of conduct, but there is a project I'm involved in which is a recipient of this funding. So just put that out there. Councillor Robertson?
I have to declare the same interest, Chair.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So I will ask Charlene McMillan to answer members' questions. Charlene?
Thank you, Chair. Just a reminder of the projects being supported through the CRP are included at 5.3 of the report. And as you mentioned, since implementation in November, government structures are now in place and working well. The revenue funding has been fully committed as per the requirements of the grant funding, and this has enabled increased capacity support internally and also out in the community to support delivery of the capital projects at the earlier stages of development. It's also enabled us to start consultancy engagement to support the feasibility of the shared childminding spaces in Barra. And as you mentioned, capital projects are also at various stages are progressing well. The largest project being the roads programme, which the Comhairle are leading on, and some site surveys, design works and cost estimations are now needing completion for Gruffy and Knockeen, with work due to commence in those areas over the summer period. Other areas in relation to Northford, Kildonnan and Ardmore Derbynish are taking place probably in the next financial year. Just also this morning, Scottish Government announced the outcomes of their RCGF funding, which the Comhairle's Community Regeneration Team lead on, and they have been successful with all three of their applications. So this includes both the Comhairle Eriskay and the Comhairle Uasatua projects, puts them on track of awarding their construction contracts in the coming financial year as per the requirements of CRP and probably also RCGF. So a busy period for all the project leads and officers and community groups involved, but a positive start. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. I think that's excellent news on the RCGF, and I commend the work of everyone who's been involved to get to that stage. It's excellent. Are there any questions from members on this report? If not, there are recommendations to note the report. Happy to note. Thank you. And there'll be a further update with a bit more detail on some elements of the project in the future. So thanks for that. Item 22, this report provides an update of the review of Comhairle equality statements and policies and the equality and diversity training module on Learn Pro. The Comhairle is committed to adhering to the duties as set out in the Equality Act 2010. Some policies and statements that are not subject to statutory review intervals have recently been reviewed and updated to ensure continued compliance with the general equality duty. The final drafts of all policies were shared with the services for feedback and have been presented to the corporate management team. The updated policies are appended to the report, and there are recommendations for approval. Paragraph 3.1. Norma Skinner is available to answer members' questions on this. Anything you want to say before that, Norma? No.
Thank you, Chair. No, I don't have really anything to add other than it's been through JCC and Employee Forum as well with no further feedback, and it's minimal changes within the policies.
Thank you very much, members. Happy to approve the report. Okay, thank you. Item 23. This report provides detail on the review of the policy on re-employment of staff. As part of the ongoing programme of policy reviews, the policy has been updated with minimal changes and is appended to the report. And again, Carmen MacDonald is available to answer members' questions on this report, and there are recommendations for approval of paragraph 3.1. I don't see any lights on or hands up. So, sorry, Councillor Money.
Thanks very much. I think looking at this under hang on a second, I had it a minute ago. 4.1, the re-engagement of teaching employees onto the teaching supply list, and having previous experience of this, very often, if it's in a shortage subject area, there is a need to bring somebody back in, and obviously the criteria are there under which that would happen. There is a real risk of the school not being appropriately staffed. I suppose something like that can be a bit objective, and I'm just wondering how, if say a head teacher says it's a need, but perhaps it's not perceived as a need elsewhere, how that tension would be addressed.
Carmen?
Thank you. There is guidelines in place within the service, and obviously there is a level of discretion for the service manager. If there was any perceived issues, then it would be referred to director level or to HR for further support and guidance.
Okay, thank you very much. Do members agree to approve paragraph 3.1? Agreed. Thank you very much. Item 24. This report concerns the review of flexible working hours scheme. It has been a number of years since the policy has been reviewed, during which employees have an increasing number of flexible working arrangements in place, including part-time working, condensed working hours and variable daily working patterns. Again, Carmen MacDonald is available to answer members' questions on this. And if there aren't any, there are recommendations for approval of paragraph 3.1 of the report. Agreed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carmen. Item 25, Employment Rights Act 25. So this report is for noting and concerns the Employment Rights Act 2025 and resulting legislative and policy changes to statutory sick pay, paternity leave and whistleblowing protections for sexual harassment, and related Comhairle policies will be updated accordingly. Carmen MacDonald is available to answer members' questions. Members, do you have any questions on this report? In that case, do members agree to note the report? Agreed. Thank you very much. Item 26. This report seeks approval for the proposed approach to the acquisition of an area of land at West Camp Balvanich. The delivery timeline for CRP projects is challenging, with funding needing to be committed during the 2026-27 financial year, and it is proposed that authority to conclude the purchase of West Camp 1 be delegated to the Chief Executive in consultation with the Chief Financial Officer and the Chief Officer Law and Governance. Relevant members will be invited to participate in the consultation exercise on the future use of West Camp 1, and a report on the outcomes of any future master planning exercise will be provided to a future series of Comhairle meetings. Alison McCorkdale is available to speak to the report and answer members' questions. Alison, is there anything you'd like to say?
Thanks, Chair. I think you've said it all, and this has been before two committees this week already, so happy to take any questions, as you've said.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Members, are there any questions? Councillor Hussain?
Yeah, obviously it says 500k has been put aside, for the. Do we have an exact price or things for the purchase?
We don't. We're awaiting the valuation from Graham and Sibbald, I believe they were in US last week, so hopefully we won't have to wait too long, but that wouldn't be necessarily the final price that is paid. That's just a start for 10 when it comes to negotiation.
Yeah, just the advice is if there's any discussion on the price, contractual arrangements would have to go into private.
Oh,
to discuss
okay.
that. But at this stage, I think Alison answered there, but it's early stages in discussions.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? If not, recommendations for approval of paragraph 3.1 of the report. Great, thank you very much. Item 27, this report seeks a determination whether the coroner should become a signatory to work-related deaths, a protocol for liaison, published by the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service. The wish of COPFS is for all local authorities to become signatories to the document. COSLA is seeking the approval of each local authority to sign the protocol on their behalf. By signing the protocol, the coroner would recognise that different agencies may have different investigative roles and responsibilities in the investigation. The coroner would work in partnership, share information, communicate and coordinate their efforts with all signatory organisations in the best interest of public safety and of those affected by work-related deaths. Again, Mr. Langley is available to answer members' questions on this if there are any. Tim, is anything you want to say about this report? Or, okay. There are recommendations for approval of paragraph 3.1 if there are no questions. Okay, agreed. Thank you very much. Item 28. This report details progress in the Islands Infrastructure Accelerator Model, the IAM, and makes recommendations as to the use of the initial phase of funding as detailed in paragraph 7 of the report. Development of the model will supplement other sources of capital funding such as the capital programme, community renewal partnership funding, pride and place funding and other specific sources of funding, noting that the model will be delivered through revenue payments according to agreed outcomes. Mr. Barr will speak to the report and answer members' questions. Mr. Barr.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. I've already introduced the Islands Accelerator model on a number of occasions, and I should first of all say my thanks to Sandy Gomez, Callum Mackenzie and Dan Murray for their work on the details of what is now emerging and what will soon appear into a governance structure and a final model, probably between now and June. As I've said, what is the Islands Accelerator model? An outcome-based funding mechanism for key public infrastructure investment to enable renewable energy and energy-related economic activity, and critically for us, also to support population retention and growth, and to support long-term local economic and community resilience. This builds on what we have been seeking to do and seeking to achieve over many years, linked with community wealth building and all of our corporate strategy priorities. And it will supplement other elements of funding. As I've said before, it's a revenue-based model, and Mr. Gomez can answer any detailed questions on that, if there are any. But so that's the introduction. There will be reports back. We're looking at governance structures at the moment. We're trying not to make these too elaborate. We don't think it needs an islands deal type approach, but clearly it does need some governance structure, and we're working with government and our two island colleagues, island council colleagues, on that too. And there's reference to that at 6.1 and 6.2. But the primary purpose of this report is to note that government has already agreed to distribute £5 million of capital funding. Now, I've just said this is a revenue model, and it is, but the three leaders of the councils were very clear that they expected to see something coming through in the first financial year, which is next financial year, and so it has come. There is £5 million of capital to be distributed more or less equally to the three islands councils. Now, obviously, with that coming through, it has to be spent on our old friend shovel-ready projects, provided these align and support the overall aims of the model, and the proposals for use of the funding are set out in paragraph 7 of the report. That's largely through the sport and leisure budget, That's to improve grass sports pitches and the replacement of the running tracks at Innersport Leois and Scolia Nicollet. Any sums left over would be applied to roads capital works. I think the other two councils are focusing mainly on roads. So roads are always with us when it comes to capital funding, but there is a need to support our amenity through the sports and leisure budget, and that meets the criteria of the model. So two recommendations. One is that you note the development of the model itself, and that there will be future reports on that, I suspect, to the June series, and that you authorise me to confirm to government that our share of the 5 million, that's about 1.6 million or thereabouts, will be used to support these outcomes as set out in paragraph 7.2, with any remaining sums going to roads capital. Happy to take questions, Chair.
Councillor Racine.
Thanks very much, Chief Executive, and it's good to see, obviously, that we're supporting population retaining by supporting young people's project. Just want to confirm, I think, obviously, that you mentioned the grass pitches. I think that North East School pebble pitch, or whatever we call it, that it's part of that program, I think.
I think that may reflect a discussion we had on that very subject.
Yeah, thank you.
But yes,
thank you very much.
If the pitch in North East is in need, which it certainly appears to be, then it will feature in those work.
I mean, as the Chief Officer of Education will confirm on his visit last week that that pitch is no longer usable under health and safety because of the damage to it. So it'll be very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor McLean.
See, my colleague from North East has put in a pitch. I might as well put in a pitch as well.
Is it a pitch for a pitch?
Yeah, and that is Tongue School. Beside Tongue School, the Tongue pitch, football pitch, alongside and the back football pitch, both totally unplayable at any time of the year. So I would put in a pitch for that.
I like it. I do like these play on words. Yeah, there's a reference to grass pitches, so I think we'll see what we can do amongst that. Yeah. Clever. Before we go to the recommendation, I just want to say that this is a really exciting piece of work. I think we've taken forward, and the commitment from Scottish Government for this first tranche of funding is really important. I think we've probably tested the bounds of what can be put into this support. Obviously, it's meant to be benefiting or linked to renewables. I think for us, it's supporting amenity and supporting our communities. So the fact that this has been accepted and taken forward, I think it's just sets a bit of a marker for what we'd be looking to do going forward over the next 10 years. So it's really good. So there are recommendations for approval at paragraph 3.1. Agreed. Thank you very much. Item 29, there are no reports outstanding arising from the decisions of this committee. So just before moving to private, I'll just note the next scheduled meeting of the committee will be on the 17th of June 2026, and we will now go into private to discuss the last item on the agenda.